Now, I don't know about you, but I got my first smartphone when I was around Form 1, Form 2. And it was the Samsung Galaxy Pocket, a tiny little thing that you could probably fit inside your mouth. That's how tiny it was. And I remember it was a time where everything was very, very new. The phone market in Kenya was very, very young. There were very little options for smartphones, and I fondly remember registering for WhatsApp and only being able to see like 5 contacts. And those 5 contacts were like old dudes and old girls that in my mind could only afford, could be the only ones who afforded smartphones at the time. That's how new it was. And I was very fond of this little phone. I would go everywhere with it. I'd actually even go to school with it. And that formed the basis of my smartphone history. It was my first smartphone. As with everything that's your first, you never really forget. So issues like being able to charge it, no one had the charger at the time. And I was fortunate enough to even be able to have a phone at that time because none of my peers, none of my friends even had computers. So definitely among the top 1%. Now, I've always been a fast learner, and I remember the transition to a smartphone from a Kaduda was a bit interesting at first. Remember, you're moving from actual physical buttons to a touchpad. So getting used to things like typing, the whole phone experience had changed very dramatically and very drastically because I had mastered the Kaduda ways. Remember, I'm from a time where we had to put in and key in internet settings on our smaller phones. So moving from that world to smartphones was definitely it was an uphill task. And smartphones weren't as sleek and as beautiful and as having a good user interface as they do right now. They were still in their infancy and were very, very buggy. Remember, we'd get like phone updates, I think every week or every other week, because they were that buggy, but that new again. So it was definitely a trailblazer when it came to owning a first smartphone. I think in our village, I say village to sound posh, but yeah, in the area where we lived. Now, at this stage, my perception of iPhones was that they were bougie, and I only say that to mean that I knew no one who had an iPhone at the time. So coming from feeling like you're at the top of the world, and now there's another whole entire class that feels above you. iPhones always felt like they were bougie, like they were top tier, creme de la creme. I fondly remember tinkering in the world of jailbreaking and hacking my small Galaxy Pocket. Many a times I'd be hanging around Reddit, and Reddit, for those who don't know, it's like a Facebook for generally everything. So people get on there to have discussions, and there was this specific Reddit that was for the Galaxy Pocket, and they would post these themes, ways to customize your small Galaxy Pocket. And at that time, we didn't even have a computer, so I had to go to a cyber, my USB cable, to be able to root this Galaxy Pocket and make it do things that the manufacturer had locked off. It was like special features and special packs that were unstable and had been locked off before. So I'd like boost the performance and change the operating system to something really weird and funky. I really had a very good time in this smartphone. Now, after all of this experience, some time passed, and I got to try out a couple of other phones. I had immersed a circle where I attracted a lot of like-minded people like myself, and we would often exchange phones and sell phones to each other. And so I got to experience a very, very wide variety of phones from, can I even remember? I think it was called a Wiko, Alcatel. I had, by the time I was finishing fourth form, I was, I think, about 10 or 13 phones in. And again, this is at a very, very young age for smartphones in Kenya. So I got to experience a lot of good and a lot of bad when it comes to smartphones, because at that moment, all the companies were trying to figure out this thing called a smartphone. So everything that we were trying were the version 1.0s, the version 2.0s. Very new, very infant. And there were many a time that I would get a phone and try to customize it and completely brick it and make it as useless as a brick. And there was no way to restore, because there wasn't that big of a community for all the other phones. Of course, Samsung and iPhone were big companies even then, and there was a lot of data when it came to customizing the phones. But for everyone else, there wasn't even a Google search. There was nothing. People were just trying out this concept of a smartphone and just selling them in the marketplace. So yeah, many a times I would get stuck and have nothing to do other than just put that phone on the shelf. I actually had a very big phone collection on my shelves of dead phones, phones I had killed myself. Now, sometime after, actually very recently, I got to experience my first iPhone. And again, as someone who was hating from outside the club, iPhones are completely different. They're different. I will not lie to you, they're different. They were built by someone who saw the other side of the glass. Again, I say this as someone that came from an Android world. Whatever Android is and whatever Android has grown to become, iPhone is a completely south pole from that. I remember my first experience actually owning an iPhone. It was very, very interesting because the neural pathways in my brain already know and they've mastered the Android universe. Now, bringing that into the iPhone world, it's completely upside down. The user interface, the logic, the way you use the phone is completely different when it comes to iPhone. And I remember actually having such a difficult time that I almost considered selling that iPhone. I think it was an iPhone X. Yeah, it was an iPhone X. And at a time, I really wanted to, I think it was a YouTube video I wanted to download, and I had no idea how to do it. There was no one online that could show me an exact way. There were only hacky and patchy ways of doing it. And many a times I actually considered selling that phone. But I stuck through and I actually got used to it. It's very addictive, I will tell you that. I don't know if it's because of the perception and because of the community that they already have, but it is very, very addictive. It's a very addictive phone. Once you get used to how things run on iPhone, you could easily get lazy. Because according to my understanding and my perception, with Android, you have to work hard. You have to know how to do this and that and this and that. With iPhone, everything just flows. It flows. You don't even have to think about it. It flows. Like I can tell you for an example, there was this time I think I was trying to save a contact or something, and when I'd key in, because I already had like Truecaller and everything, yeah. So when I'd go to save contact, it would put everything, it would put in the names, like everything was done for you. And that's my entire experience with iPhone, is that a lot of the things that you would have to manually do on Android, they're already done for you. So you'd easily get lazy with an iPhone. I feel people's perspective of me changed also. Owning an iPhone immediately meant you're coming from money or you have money. And I will not lie, that is a very good feeling. I won't lie. Because I would even get a sit down or a meeting with someone I would rank very high up because I was flaunting an iPhone. And the whole world just moves different when you have iPhone. Trust me, if you've never tried it, try it today. Just try it. The whole world moves different for people with iPhones. I even felt as if I was moving faster. Like things just flow very, very quickly when you have iPhones. And I know this might just be my perspective, but it's definitely a premium experience. It is. Coming from the manual, I call it manual, but it's just that everything you have to do on your own by yourself when it comes to Android is super easy on the other end. They've thought about it. Yeah, that's all I can say. They've thought about it. They've thought about the processes. They've thought about the little things that you don't have to repeat constantly. And that, I believe, that's what makes iPhones different. As we speak right now, I do not have that iPhone anymore. I got used to it very quickly, and I just could not. So as I speak, I have moved back to Android, but it was a very good experience to have an iPhone. And I'd commend you, don't stick to one for just try it out. Try it out. You might actually be converted. I was converted for a while. I was actually converted. And come to think of it, I actually might even go back to iPhone. It's that good. It's good. It's not overrated. It's good. I dare to say it's actually great. So this is my word to you. If you have not yet had the experience of trying an iPhone, I completely recommend it. Try it. You actually might like it.